Hey gang, it's here, your Uncle Todd, and we finally saw the last episode of this season's Stranger Things. Wow. Well, start things off. The phone call to Russia gets through, and after some talking, in code and stuff, Hopper explains that they now know what's going on in Hawkins and Elle and everything. So they also realize they've got to close the gate down that's in Russia, because that might give the kids an advantage when they go to take on Vecna. So, leaving their Russian comrade to watch the smuggler, they head back in. Now, during this time, the smuggler has been kind of half-assing the repairs, prolonging everything, because he doesn't really want to take them back to America. But after having a conversation with the ex-Russian guard, he realizes it's more important than just his personal finances, that having seen the monsters and realizing they're going to come to Russia and his family if they don't stop it in America, he comes around and starts actually repairing the helicopter. Meanwhile, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, they get back into the prison with no trouble. And they find that in trying to defeat the original Demogorgon, they've inadvertently released all of them that were in stasis. And they've run roughshod over the whole place. So Hopper comes up with a plan. He realizes that they can get them all trapped back in the original pit. He just has to lure them there, turn back on the electric fence field around the outside, and then they can just barbecue them with the flamethrower they got from the smuggler's stash of weapons he sells. That doesn't quite go the way they planned it. They're a little too fast for Hopper. I mean, Hopper is going to be the bait. And he's going to lead one, which will lead them all in, because hive mind. Doesn't go quite as planned, and Joyce ends up saving Hopper with a cattle prod, killing the Demogorgon that was chasing him. The rest go after them, and now they're trapped in the pit. But Murray shows up with the flamethrower and barbecues them all, except one who's really badly wounded. Hopper grabs a Conan sword. I swear it looks exactly like the sword Schwarzenegger had in Conan the Barbarian, with the special extended grip that was on the blade, and chops this thing to pieces, beheading it at the end. Just in time for the helicopter to arrive to take him away. That ends that story. Back in Nevada, I believe it is, Elle realizes they cannot get to Hawkins in time, so she's going to have to piggyback through Max to get into the Upside Down to face the One. Now, she knows this because she's done her thing and found out what their plan was. So, they need a tank filled with water and a lot of salt. Luckily, their stoner dude who works for Surfer Pizza takes them to a Surfer Pizza place that's about to close. And he bribes the last guy there with his pot. This guy turns out to be exactly like him. My dude. Anyway, so he gets out. They empty out a freezer, fill it with water, and dump tons of salt in because it's a restaurant, it has tons of salt. And Mike fashions some sensory deprivation glasses for her with a pair of sunglasses and some pizza boxes so that she can close her eyes and there'll be nothing but darkness. So she gets in the tub and she's trying to come up to Max. This thing keeps slipping down. Meanwhile, in Hawkins, they've got everything set up. Nancy, Robin, Eddie, Steve, and Dustin, they've all gone back into the Upside Down and they're waiting for the signal. Marcus, Max, and Marcus's sister are at the murder house. When they find the room Vecna's in, Marcus's sister goes out to the meeting point where she's supposed to be, or where the others are in the Upside Down. When Max goes in, or makes contact with Vecna, Marcus signals his sister. She signals the other group. Now, at this point, Eddie and Dustin have been working, and they built this huge trap, or I should say bunker for themselves. And then Eddie goes to bring the bats to them so that the others can get into the house by playing what sounds like Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls. He's a big metal, makes sense. With a guitar from his room, because everything in the Upside Down mirrors everything. So that attracts all the bats, who they then barricade themselves in to the cage that they've built for themselves. But they hadn't foreseen that there are some places that are not totally secure, and they start getting in. They plug one, but the other one comes out. Eddie gets Dustin up through the hole they have, and he then cuts the rope that they're using to get in and out and leads the bats away, because he's not going to run away this time like he had back in the first episode when the cheerleader got killed. So he's fighting them. Dustin returns but injures his leg because he doesn't have the rope to go down through, so he has to climb in, which means he falls. There's not the mattress there to protect him, and his weak bone condition injures his leg. But he goes to help Eddie. Meanwhile, Steve, Robin, and Nancy, they're all getting into the house, but they're attacked by the tentacles, the vines, and they're going to be choked to death. While Max has made contact with Vecna, the strange lights and things that are happening at the murder house get back to the basketball captain and his friends, and they go to the house where he interrupts Marcus, who's watching Max, threatens him with a gun. He's totally bonkers. And it ends up him and Marcus get in a fight. And the captain stooge gets in a fight with Marcus's sister. And she's only 12, so he's just tearing into her. Max is running from Vecna. She tries to hide in memories. But Vecna keeps finding her. She can't do it forever. And just when all seems lost, Elle makes contact, piggybacks, and fights Vecna. And she wins at first. But Vecna is still too strong for her. And he gets her trapped, and she's being choked out, and Max is about to be eviscerated. The guys and the pizza parlor know something's wrong. And Mike tells Elle, because she can still hear him, how much he loves her and why he wouldn't say it, because he was afraid he would lose her if he told her. But he believes in her, and big pep talk. It's just what she needs.
And she finally breaks free. At this point, Vecna is snapping Max's limbs. She's raised up. Marcus sees this and knocks out the basketball captain. And his sister kicks the athlete in the groin with all her might, and he's out of it for good, for the moment. Elle gets strength, and she defeats Vecna, which gives Nancy, Steve, and Robin the chance to get away from the vines, and they immolate Vecna with the Molotov cocktails they've brought, and Nancy just shoots him to pieces with the machine gun, or with the shotgun, and he falls out the house. And it seems like they've won, but when they go out, he's not there. And he's been killed by the bats, and he has a tearful goodbye with Dustin. Max is free from the upside down, but she can't see, she can't feel, but she can hear Marcus, and she dies in his arms. This causes the fourth gate to open, which causes a huge earthquake-like thing where all the gates connect themselves with lava coming up. This, unfortunately for the basketball captain, he was in the middle of the way and got toasted. But the whole house thinks, or the whole town thinks they've gotten a major earthquake. But before anything can really come through, Elle reaches into Max's body and restarts her heart. Now we get into the aftermath. It's a couple days later. Elle, Jonathan, Mike, William, and their stoner dude, whose name I can never remember. He's just stoner dude. They make it back to Hawkins. A lot of people are evacuating. There's a lot of people in need of help. It's basically a Katrina-like situation. There's a tearful reunion with everybody. Dustin, Steve, and Robin are volunteering at the shelter. At this point, Robin might actually have a chance with the girl she has a crush on, because she's broken up with her boyfriend. They don't really get along. But she's just happy to be there with her talking. Dustin runs into Eddie's father and tells him he knows Eddie didn't do the murders that he's blamed for, and explains how he died saving Dustin and saving the town. And they hold each other and have tearful things. While this is happening, the rest of the group, they go out to Hopper's old cabin. Elle's going to hide out there. Government's still after her, after all. And as they're cleaning it up, Nancy and Jonathan have a talk, but they don't really fully communicate with each other. That's going to cause a problem next season. Government car shows up. Jonathan is scared shitless, but then it turns out it's Hopper and Joyce. Tearful reunion with everybody. Elle is ecstatic her father is alive. Well, the man she considers her father. Everything. Tearful reunion with everybody. And then it starts snowing. Will knows Vecna's still alive. He can feel him in his head. Has ever since they've gotten back to Hawkins. He has that connection. He was the first one abducted. They follow Will, and he leads them out to where they can all view the meeting of the five gates. Huge dark cloud coming out of it. It's where the snow's coming. It's actually ash. they know the fight isn't over. And that's basically where it ends. It's really good, really emotional. Max is still in the Max, who is alive, is in the hospital in a coma. They don't even know if she'll ever come out of it. Elle tries to go into her mind and she can't find her. Jonathan and Will have had a heart-to-heart. They now have a better relationship as brothers. I am beginning to wonder if Will is gay. His reactions to seeing Mike and Elle together actually come off more as a jilted lover than a friend who's being ignored. Which would make for some interesting storytelling in the next season, which, according to the Duffer Brothers, is the last one. But all in all, great ending. A lot of action. Everything, well, most things are tied up. I mean, there's still the whole thing with Sam and the government. But I'm sure that'll get worked out in the next season. But as things go, really good. I'm beginning to understand why Nancy, no matter how much Steve tries to bring them back together, she's resistant. Her guilt is from the night Barb got taken. Nancy kind of left her on her own to go fool around with Steve. And that's why she's having trouble whenever she's around Steve. It's something she can't get over, and why she's turned to Jonathan. So I don't know if that'll ever work out or not. But all in all, really good episode. Long episode. It was basically 2 episodes put together. Actually, this has been one long movie put together. That's how every season has been. But really good. Really enjoyed it. Very emotional. That's about all I've got to say for this. And I'll see you next time.